Alright guys, I know you can't see it, but we are topped up to 6 gallons here. Sorry I did that off camera, but my facilities don't really, kind of lend themselves to perfect filming. Definitely not a cooking show. Got my sanitized spoon inside of the wort here. Giving it a good stir, even out the temperature, as well as whip a little air into there. If I was doing a batch of all grain or a partial mash or something like that, I would use my air stone that I have. I also have a mixer that hooks to a drill and kind of beats, air into it. But seeing as this is kind of just, real basic sort of brewing, I want to do it this way. Get this thermometer out of there. Give it a good spray down. I keep all of my equipment clean at all times. That way I can just pull it out, sanitize it, and it's ready to go. Shake off the excess here and have a drink. Alright. It's not the fastest thermometer in the world, so I'm going to give it about 10 seconds or so to equalize, and we'll see where it's at. Aroma's actually quite nice. The halitows are coming through. Got that spicy character kind of come out. And obviously a lot of malt, unfermented. But we'll take care of that real soon. Alright. So we are at right about 116 degrees Fahrenheit. Obviously way, way, way too warm to be pitching yeast. That will kill the yeast. And one of the other things I would like to stress to you guys, stop pitching your yeast when it's over 80 degrees, okay? I see videos all the time where folks are asking, something happened with my beer, it doesn't taste very good, and you look in the comments and someone asks, well, what temperature did you pitch it at? Oh, I pitched it at 87 or 86. Okay, yeast love to ferment hot. Love it. Greatest thing in their life. But the ester production, the flavor profile that you're going to get at those temperatures are really inappropriate. So please, find a way to get it down to temperature. An ice bath. In my case, this fermenter is going to go into my kegerator, which I've turned down to 36 degrees just to get this down to temperature. It's going to take about, in my experience, 2.5 to 3 hours, something this warm, to get into the 70 range. For me, the appropriate 70 range is no warmer ever than 75. I just don't pitch that warm. I over-sanitize. I don't freak out. I properly handle my yeast. I do yeast starters or I rehydrate. And so I've never had an infection. Now, if you have, I don't think it's because you waited to pitch. I think it's because you have issues sanitizing and cleaning your equipment, okay? So give it a try. Try and do your best. Get an ice bath. What's a couple, bags of ice cost? Or, take some empty milk jugs, toss them in the fridge, or toss them in the freezer. And also pre-cooling your water that you're going to use to top up with is an excellent way to make sure you get down to temperature in time. And you can also, even if you guys are just kit brewers, you can go to the hardware store and get 20 feet of soft copper tubing, some tubing leads, and a connection for your sink, and run cold water through that guy. And, and sterilize. You can sterilize it in a bucket or whatever, and use it as a wort chiller. You don't have to be an all-grain brewer or a partial mash brewer or an extract with steeping grains brewer to own a wort chiller. And I know copper's expensive a little bit, but even if this is just the way that you brew, the few dollars you're going to spend for a wort chiller is going to save you so much time and could possibly help, keep your beer in better check with the yeast. Because while we make the wort, the yeast makes the beer. You don't make beer, you make wort. And so keeping the yeast happy is the most important thing in beer making. It doesn't matter whether you're doing this, whether you're making cider, whether you are brewing on a Brutus 10 elaborate system with pumps, or you're brewing partial mash on the stove, or you work in Anheuser-Busch. making a healthy wort and a clean environment for the yeast to ferment is the most important thing, treating them right, okay? So let's snap this guy on there. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed these blue lids, these newer blue lids, but I'm not a big fan of them. They're really difficult to get off. I know they make a better seal than the little white lids do, but good Lord, you know, I'm a relatively healthy, strong young pup, and sometimes these things are a pain to get off. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is how I've brewed my Can Kit beer. I hope you've enjoyed at least the explanations I've given to why I'm making it, enjoyed how I've made it. This isn't a super specific how-to. Once this gets down to temperature, about a half hour before that happens, I'll make sure that this water is in the proper range according to Fermentis for this water here in this flask for rehydrating the yeast. And I will do an entire video on proper rehydration of yeast. There's also one you can watch right now if you go to YouTube, you're on YouTube. If you type in Northern Brewer TV, and there's a good yeast rehydration video. I do it just a tiny bit different. A lot of brewing is kind of, you know, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, which one works for you. But rehydrating yeast is important, so I'll get this to around 90 degrees, 80 degrees or so. I will pitch the yeast into this. It'll sit for about a half hour. I will then give it a good stir to get it completely into the kind of a cream looking color, a uniform cream color. I'll add just a bit of other boiled, cooled water, cold water, to get this to right at 70 to 75 degrees at my pitching temperature, and then I'll go ahead and I'll pitch that into the beer itself, and I'll get really quick fermentation that will, you know, be really healthy and without much lag time, which is a great thing. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that pretty soon. You know, I don't want this video to seem like I'm poo-pooing kit brewing. I haven't had enough of the examples of those beers to say that they're junk. I've only had a few examples that have been brought to me when I was working at the homebrew shop that were just the Muttons Premium Pilsner according to the directions, and I can honestly say that, you know, with just their sugar version, I didn't care for it too much. It came out very cidery and pretty thin. I'm hoping this all malt version will be much better, and I can recommend to folks that they do it that way. But brew however you're able to brew and whatever you're comfortable with brewing. And you know, for those of you who live in parts of the world where beer is very expensive, taxes are expensive on your beer, and this is a cheap way to make, you know, at least a decent product, man, go for it. You know, absolutely nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be on YouTube or part of a brew club or something like that to enjoy making these kits or making beer, however it is that you make beer. I enjoy the process all the way through. I had a great time tonight. I knocked this entire batch out, including do a video, and I never have done this before. I'm serious. And it took me less than an hour and a half. It'll take me another 20 minutes to clean up the pots, and I'm just going to rinse and toss them in the dishwasher. So you know, you can't beat the time frame for some of these. But I think that's pretty much it for me, guys. You know, we'll do a part 2 on this when I actually taste the beer. I'm not sure if I will bottle this yet or if I'll keg it. I have more kegs than bottles, and for me, kegging just does the trick. There's no difference in the flavor, really, except for, you know, if you take it out of a tap, it tends to degas the beer a little bit more unless you do an aggressive pour in a bottle. Carbonic acid aside, I don't really see much of a difference. So we'll do that when the time comes. I should be racking this beer at the gravity level where I think it's going to be at, with the can has told me, and also what my brewing software has told me. So this should come somewhere between 1042, 1046-ish, so pretty low-ish gravity, and this yeast is a real monster. It chomps through everything pretty quickly. So I'll be racking this in 10 days. It will then go into a secondary fermenter, just so I can see how clear it is. With a Pilsner or a Blonde Ale, I really like them clear. And it will go into my kegerator, which is, you know, normally in the very low 40s, and it will sit there for about a week, at which point I will probably then keg, possibly bottle, we'll see. And so we're looking at 17 to 20 days before I'm able to do a taste test on it. But when I do, I will be completely honest with you guys. No BS intended or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. You know, I enjoy brewing beer, you know, paramount to almost anything else in my life except for my wife and my kids. And I love the process all the way through, even with just doing it so simple. So I raise a glass to you kit brewers, you all grain brewers. you partial mash guys, and for people who just love beer and watching beer videos on YouTube, cheers, man. Enjoy everything that you're doing. Try and make beer every way that you can. Do what fits in your budget. Do what fits your taste buds. And enjoy yourself. I'm out of here. Cheers.